That's right, you're not imagining things. Angus Kinnear has spoken with supporters of Leeds United about what happened in the transfer market, what's happening next pre-season, all sorts of stuff. And basically, to explain what's gone on, the Supporters Advisory Board minutes have released for the meeting that they held in January. The Supporters Advisory Board is a bunch of fans and people associated with the club that discuss the interactions between the club and the fans themselves and sort of explains the decision making from the club perspective. It discusses all of the issues affecting the club and can be a really, really useful resource to find out where the club is sitting on a lot of stuff all of the time. And it's sadly not often discussed. Thanks, words. So I figured I would take a quick dive into it and sort of get everyone caught up on what is actually being discussed behind the scenes between the SAB and the club. So to start with, Angus Kinnear had a little bit of a chat about transfers, and he specifically mentioned that there is still work going on behind the scenes. It's not a thing that has just stopped out of nowhere. It's a bunch of conversations that are going to be ongoing basically for an extended period of time until we end up in the summer window. There is constant communication going on between the coaching team and the recruitment team. He did also especially note the strength and sort of depth of the squad in general, but additionally the wide areas. I've got the minutes up here, so I might occasionally glance over to them just to make sure that I'm keeping on track with absolutely everything. But it was specifically noted that, for instance, on the wings, we have a lot of depth, and that is a very fair point because we've got four very, very good wings. Whilst like Nonto isn't quite on form, I think we're noticing that because the other three very much are on form and have been on form. We're a pretty damn good squad, and the entire segment on transfers to me says that we are pointing towards a long-term strategy on transfer stuff. A case of, okay, so we're already planning for the summer for what we'll need to do in the event that we go up, for what we'll need to do in the event that we do not go up, trying to put a plan together in all of those instances. And then, if all that comes together, we will absolutely be heading in the right direction come summer, like that. Be right on it as soon as possible, rather than having to play catch up, which I think is the best possible strategy. And that is, in my opinion, the only real reading from the transfer section that you can get. You can't get, yes, we're a short-termist lot or nothing's happening at all. It's all built towards long-term stuff. In addition to that, he spoke a little bit on pre-season and said that pre-season tour next summer will be in Europe. No jetting off to America to try and get the nice shiny sponsorship deals. No going over to somewhere in Southeast Asia like Myanmar. Just a nice, sensible European tour. And the idea is matches that fans will be able to attend, and this is absolutely something that was emphasised. Last year, admittedly, we did go to Germany and we did have a nice training camp over there, and we ended up with various players saying hello to our new signings whilst they were on tour. But that didn't quite work out because fans weren't able to be there, and it was apparently an issue with policing, and the grounds that we played at weren't specifically designed for any form of crowd, especially a Leeds United crowd, but that is something that is going to be dealt with going forwards. The club actively want to resolve it, and it means that there are going to be fans at the pre-season friendlies, as far as we can tell. In addition to that, there's a bunch of fixtures at Elland Road that are yet to be announced. This is obviously going to happen because there's always a couple of pre-season friendlies that happen at Elland Road, but of course we don't know who we're going to be facing yet because that is to be announced further down the line. The matches would be 5, maybe 6 months away from now, which means that it's not something that urgently needs to be discussed, but it's good that we are planning very, very early. It means that it's going to be roughly unaffected by promotion because you've got the things in the book, and obviously if you're maybe planning like Atletico Madrid, if we get promoted, sure, you can lower that to a Leganes or something if we don't get promoted. Planning in advance by this far means that we are just in a nice, comfy situation where everything is able to sort of work out regardless. We'll be set no matter if we go up or if we stay down. Ideally, up. That will be absolutely perfect, and I think that's where we're going to end up, but it's good to see that we are preparing these things. I am going to cover basically everything that was discovered in the Supporters Advisory Board. I say this, I'll briefly touch on some bits. But there was a significant chunk from Angus Kinnear on the Manor Solomon stuff, specifically on the various bits of chanting that were going on. So I'm going to read the bits from the minutes quite precisely and make sure that they are as written, so I'm not like misinterpreting anything. But he said, on Manor Solomon, he says the club pick players to represent Leeds on ability. Regarding the chant, the one that mentions the conflict that's ongoing in the Middle East, the police don't class it as a hate crime, but Kinnear outlines the procedure for reporting the chant, which has been condemned by the club because it's a good move to condemn a chant that specifically references a conflict which has a very, very high rate of casualties, especially civilian casualties. The club relies on people to report these things via the matchday incident text number or the nearest steward, because in that case you're able to actually understand who is doing the things whilst the things are happening, rather than, as he notes, through CCTV and video evidence, because that can make it very, very difficult to prove, and you don't want to start handing out football banning orders based on, well, you might have done it on a video. Basically, if you're a match-going person and someone's chanting inappropriate stuff in your vicinity, it's probably a good idea to mention it. So it's able to be sort of dealt with. He did also specifically mention that the Solomon again, Ole Ole chants are probably a very good way of this chant being gotten rid of as soon as possible, which is good because any form of tragedy chanting is bad. And I'm sure that everyone watching this agrees with that, because you wouldn't want anyone chanting about the incidents that happened in Turkey with Chris and Kev. You wouldn't want to go to another club. You wouldn't want to play against Liverpool and do chanting about Hillsborough. It's not on at all. And being able to stamp that out is for the best, without a doubt. There were also some wider points that were covered in the SAB meeting, and these can be absolutely just as important, even if it seems like it is smaller stuff. So, for example, there were a lot of steps taken to help out vulnerable fans, and that includes a lot of being inclusive where possible. Now, this, for example, I'm going to pull up some specific examples from the minutes here just because I want to make sure that I'm getting like everything correct. There was one fan who was seen as digitally excluded because they didn't have access to the tech that was necessary to get their tickets when it came to being sent them on a phone. So trying to work through processes to get those like printed out instead. In addition to that, there's various bits and bobs around making sure that discrimination is just clamped down on. And that includes the production of a video that is sort of maybe going to be played pre-match, that sort of thing, to make it clear that it's not acceptable in Elland Road. And that is a really, really good thing to see us doing, because I'll get into it in a minute. But in addition to that, there's a bit of financial stuff in here. So the partnership that is going to go on with Fanatics, where they're covering all of the retail stuff going forwards, the Fanatics partnership will not lead to job losses, which means that the club is, again, happy to sort of take on this role of pushing forwards from a community perspective and being a sort of hub of people that are employed here become part of the Leeds United community and are able to trust in that, rather than we've done a commercial partnership, so now you're unemployed. The fact that this is something that is actively being considered is always a big positive. In addition to that, there's a lot of chat about improving the facilities, like a mention from one of the supporters advisory board members, not meeting, who I know personally, that I'm not going to call out by name because I don't know if she wants me to, so I'm just going to not. That specifically discusses a leak that's going on in the COP and discussions on the clock on the scoreboard maybe not being perfect, and a Turkish flag that was waved at Hull City that there is action now being taken on, and stuff about various facilities going on in the South Stand being a little bit wrong, leading to people spilling drinks and stuff like that. And it's all very much stuff that might seem very small and pointless, but it goes to improve the matchday experience colossally for so many people. And the fact that we've got a supporters advisory board that is paying attention to these little details is really good for everyone at the club. Like, it's even stuff like stadium cleanliness. We all remember that Twitter thread about a pie being stuck to the wall for months on end. And that's really helpful. And even stuff like the club having in the past a discount partnership with LNER and hotels and stuff. And it means that travelling fans get slightly better deals and stuff, and things are a lot easier. And the club will take steps to deal with that stuff. And that's really important to make sure that we all enjoy Leeds United in the best way possible. And overall, the general gist that I got from the Supporters Advisory Board meeting that happened in January was everyone is pushing to make the club a better space to love Leeds United. And that's what we want to do. That's why you're watching this video now. That is why you go to Elland Road, because you want to be part of that passionate community. And it's everything from making sure that Leeds are taking part in charity things to, I'm just going to make sure that I'm able to skim through the right bits here, to Joel Piru going to various religious celebrations around the Islamic faith, and the Hanukkah event that happened at Elland Road. And it's making sure that everyone feels as comfortable as they can within Leeds United and has the best experience they can. And that's a good thing. And I really, really enjoy that. And there was one final note that I'm going to do as, it's not a properly serious thing, but I'm going to do it as a joke anyway. Apparently the Leeds United podcast has been put aside until next season because they didn't have a host. So if we're looking for I'm around, I mean, sign me up, guys. If you need a host. Only messing. Anyway, general gist is that the Supporters Advisory Board is very, very good. It's really good to see the level of transparency that we're getting here with the minutes coming out from each of these meetings. The next meeting, as far as I'm aware, happens tomorrow on the 13th of February. I say this, I'm recording 2 minutes before midnight right now, on the 12th. So that's fun. But it's happening this evening for you guys, tomorrow for me. But hopefully we get even more developments that push the club in the best direction possible, and we keep on growing and building and becoming the best place to love football in the country, in the world. Who knows? Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, pop a like on it. That'd be much appreciated. Subscribe if you're not yet. That's always absolutely wonderful. You could even become a channel member. It's 99p for a month, and you get videos like this one 7 hours, in this case, early. So that'd be lovely. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you later. Toodaloo. Supporters Advisory Board's great. It's such a good asset for the club. Thank you if you're on the SAB. It's much appreciated. You do fantastic stuff. Toodaloo.